so Sarah Koenig has raised reasonable doubts for me, and I think any fair, observer. How is it that a jury convicted him beyond a reasonable doubt in the space of 2 hours? And how is it that, Jay's admitted lies were not enough to, make him seem like an unreliable witness? What do you think went wrong?
I mean, a lot of things went wrong, but whenever somebody's wrongfully convicted, everything goes wrong, right? People act like, oh my God, no, there was a judge and a jury. Yeah, there was judges and juries in cases where people are not just wrongfully convicted, but actually executed, right? And then later found to be innocent. So, when I was in the trial, during the trial, and I attended the second trial, the first trial I couldn't attend, but that only lasted a few days. What was striking to me was first that Cristina Gutierrez was not clear in her line of questioning. She was very drawn out. She just lost people. Like you could blank out for 40 minutes at a time and come back to her still kind of rambling about it. Like she wasn't concise. She was not effective. And we know now that she was getting really sick, and nobody knew that at the time. There was that. And I saw many times, you could see the jury just not interested. I saw jurors totally asleep, completely asleep.
Oh my God.
And I would just look at them. And the thing is, Gutierrez was the kind of person where when we had tried to talk to her in the past, like not me independently, but the family asked me to go with them. She was really horrible. She refused to talk to anybody. So there were times, I remember one time I was sitting and I saw this juror asleep, and it was like an older person. And I was thinking, should I write Cristina Gutierrez? Like, should I pass her a note? Right. But I was terrified of her. And I was like, no, I can't. Like, I don't know if she would even have paid attention to it, but she routinely didn't pay attention to the jury. She spent a lot of time just kind of wandering around and didn't pay attention. So there was that, definitely. And I think there was also, Uric was really clever in the way he framed this, because even in his
so this is the prosecutor.
Kevin Uric is the prosecutor, one of the prosecutors. The way he framed it, even in the opening statements, and this is to a urban mostly black jury in downtown Baltimore. He said this. He said, on one hand, you have this smart magnet school kid, and on the other hand, you have this this young black boy who's had a rough family, single mother, father's incarcerated, and Adnan chose him for that reason. Because when he testifies, you're not going to believe him, and be aware of the fact that he's not a believable witness.
Okay, so he used Jay's, the things that are obviously make Jay a suspicious witness. He used a kind of a judo move and, made that, and argue that it made him more reliable.
Yeah, and I mean, like, if this was a jury, not so much of Adnan's peers, but a jury that probably could relate better to a Jay's perspective in his life, and I get that. I mean, they're human beings. Why wouldn't they? So
okay, so was Jay so you think Jay gave a very convincing performance, or it was not a good performance, but Gutierrez was just so incompetent that she couldn't trip him up, or what?
Oh no, so it was fascinating. So Jay was not so polished in the first trial from the transcripts that I've read. But what happened? The first trial was almost like a rehearsal, right? Like, so it gave a chance for everybody to go back and regroup, and then in the second trial, Jay's in a tie and very polished, but he also was very, very calm. So while Gutierrez would emote a lot, Jay was very much like, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. And what's amazing is that Gutierrez got him to admit on the stand how many times he lied. You lied at this time? Yes, I lied. I mean, like 30 different times. Maybe, I don't even know. I've lost count of how many times he admits to lying to the police, to everything. And he also admitted on the stand that, actually, maybe, I can't remember if it was the first trial or second trial, but that the police had told him he was a suspect and could be charged with a murder. So there you have, a reason for him to obviously, point the finger somewhere else. But despite the fact that Gutierrez got him to admit these things, the jury was like, I guess it's kind of like people now, even after the Intercept interview, a lot of people online, not a lot, well, at least Reddit is full of people saying, well, I understand why he would lie. I totally get it. Okay, I mean, that's fine.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's hard to say if you think he's telling the truth because he tells so many lies that you can't know what truth he thinks he's expressing. If you think that he's basically telling the truth, you can understand why he would lie about things. But he lies so much that there's no way you can say, oh, he's probably telling the truth about these things.
But even then, okay, so I'm kind of like I said, I mean, like you, even then, that's actually, I don't think that's completely right. Like, for example, if we're to accept that the Intercept interview makes the most sense out of all of these narrations, and that makes sense why he didn't want to get his grandma involved. This, that. First of
Mhm.
all, again, he's framing himself as like a major drug dealer who is scared of a suburban honor roll student, like, and doesn't have any means to actually be dealing anything.
Mhm.
And also, it didn't matter where that trunk was popped. I mean, there's no reason for the cops. Jay told the cops that he got rid of his clothing, his boots, and they still did not search his house. You know, so
Mhm.
don't tell me that in interview maybe 6 with the police, if you had said actually the trunk pop was at my grandmother's house, all of a sudden they're going to raid his grandmother's house. They're not going to do that. Like the
Okay.
cops played as nicely as they could because they needed Jay. He played them the entire time.